In Chapter 5, we learn about the Constitution, which is the legal framework for our nation. This secures the rights of us as individuals. Part of what I find very interesting about this is that the Constitution was created a few hundred years ago, and those things that were put into the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, are still applicable and useful today. Um, I find it very amazing how the hundreds of years ago we didn't have computers, yet through the Constitution and the Bill of Rights we can implement laws and regulations that involve new technologies as well. So I think that's very interesting that the Constitution was so well thought through so many years ago that um, all of those things are still applicable today. What many people don't realize is, what exactly those rights are and how exactly those rights are enforced and what occurs throughout the enforcement of those rights. Um, this chapter addressed the impact of the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments on businesses. And in most cases, a business is actually, or a business or corporation is actually treated as an artificial person. So it's very important as a business person to realize um, what exactly those um, rights are and how exactly those can influence and be used for and against a corporation or business. Specifically reviewed within the chapter and called out are the First Amendment, which is the amendment that involves free speech. The Fourth Amendment, which is the amendment that deals with the freedom to be secure in person, home, and personal property. The Fifth, which protects against self incrimination and double jeopardy, and also gives us the right to trial by jury. And the 14th Amendment, which applies most of those Bill of Rights to states, as well as introducing the Equal Protection Clause. One of the interesting things I thought in the chapter was the case of the United States versus Windsor and how the changes within that court case were going to impact businesses. And, it was a case that didn't necessarily have to do with businesses to begin with, but really the outcome of that case and the resulting the rulings on that case did affect businesses. It affected the way that businesses needed to provide health benefits, retirement benefits, family medical leave policies. So it is important as a business person to realize and know that cases that are going on are, have the ability to impact you or us as business people, even if it doesn't seem initially like it would have anything to do with business people. But as those rulings are made and protocols are being set, those can definitely have an impact on businesses as well as individuals. Moving on to chapter 6, we talked a lot, learned a lot about the about crime and the criminal process, what the steps are to criminal prosecution from arrest to appeal. And then we really talked or read a lot about white collar crime, learning that it is very difficult to identify the criminal sometimes within white collar crime. It is much more costly, white collar crime is, than what we consider street crime, but it is also viewed much differently. Oftentimes, the more strict penalties are not necessarily enforced as far as white collar crime goes. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting here was the little subsection that talked about the prisons that some of these criminals are sent to. Certainly, some of the things that are available to them are better than people have. Some people have going away on vacation. So I think that that's kind of a mixed message, if you will, to these people who are certainly causing such financial harm to others. Um, we also learned about, and sort of not surprising, with the increased use of computers, um, the, the computers are making it more difficult to detect and find in the white collar crime. Um, it is Computers are increasingly being used for white collar crime. Also, it is difficult with the increase in globalization worldwide. That is also difficult, very difficult to prosecute because of the various countries, perhaps not necessarily cooperating with each other, the police within those countries. So steps are being taken to try to work cooperatively together um, to be able to prosecute the criminals that are involved in these white collar crimes. On a personal note, I think this whole area of white collar crime really brings an awareness to me personally about how white collar crime um, may be making an impact on me, whether it is in the form of business or in my personal life. Um, Making sure that the businesses that I am doing business with or the investments that I may be making are with companies that are being proactive and setting up um, steps to ensure that white collar crime is not happening. Making sure as a business that we're not setting up loopholes that can set others up for temptation. So, incorporating ethics and morals as guiding principles for business to ensure that we are staying within the guidelines set forth in the Constitution, and making sure that, through our business, that we are abiding by the law, and that our employees are doing much the same. So I think that too, these chapters really sort of brought to light an area that perhaps I didn't really necessarily pay much attention to, but certainly should on a personal and business note.